Hey guys, welcome back to class again. So we're going to add our heading in our notebooks, name, date, English, English class, Mrs. Cáceres class, Mrs. Cáceres English class, whichever of those you prefer, grade and section. Leave a space for your title, and then you will have your objective and your I can statement. For your objective, you have to present and critique a poem orally. And our I can statement, I can create my own form of poetry. So that's what you guys are going to be doing today. Don't stress out. You're not going to create a poem out of nothing. Practice makes perfect. So we're going to practice making our own poems by using another poem. You might be asking yourselves, how's that going to work? But I'll explain in a moment. So first, let's talk about analyzing the punctuation and tone in a poem. Poets use structure and poetic elements to create mood and reinforcing meaning. A key element of poetry is tone, or the writer's attitude toward his or her subject. Tone can convey emotions that suggest how readers should react to the poem. Poets also use certain kinds of punctuation to show tone. In Icarus's Flight, the tone is shown through questions asked by the author to show his thoughts about Icarus's fall. The poet wonders if Icarus was aware of the consequences of his disobedience. Read aloud the following lines from Icarus' Flight. Notice how the punctuation helps you understand the tone. Disintegrating around him, should it matter that neither shepherd nor farmer with his plow watched him fall? He now had his answer. Laws to uphold him in his downward plunge. So that's an example of using tone. It's not the tone of my voice, it's the tone of the writing that the author, or the poet in this case, portrays when he writes his poem. Pay attention to details as you dig deeper into the poem. Use text clues and punctuation to determine the poet's attitude and to analyze how the poet's meaning is developed. Okay, so I thought that a way that we could do that today was going into a little bit more about what poetry is. So I have a vocabulary video for you guys. Hope you enjoy it.
Poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. It takes its origin from emotion recollected in tranquility.
Wordsworth!
Yes?
Thanks for the intro. We'll take it from here.
What's going on?
What's poetry? Here's what I found. It's when you're written and spitting words for the meaning and sound. Poems, they pack an emotional punch, whether a haiku, a sonnet, or a limerick for fun. Some poetry has a super strict form, but it could be formless and be a super slick poem. A poem written in verse you'll find. Most have meter and many have rhyme. What's prose? It's the opposite of poetry, straightforward, like a newspaper story. See, prose has rules to be grammatical, but with poems, rules go or sabbatical. You can do whatever you dream, cool runnings, and drop capitals like E.E. Cummings, and break grammatical rules with abandon. Tell Keats and Yeats you're coming for the canon.
Poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable. Poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable.
Also figurative language, the choice is yours. And like umpires, now you know the score. Figurative language goes beyond literal meaning, uses similes and metaphors and even appealing to the five senses. That's imagery. Now let's compare prose to some poetry.
Fog appeared in the harbor and city.
That's some pretty simple prose, you get me? Carl Sandburg's poem has figures of speech.
The fog comes on, little cat feet.
That's a metaphor about the paws of a kitty who
Sits looking over the harbor and city.
Now, fog doesn't really look, cause it's not alive, but the poet got creative. He personified Sandburg's expressive language shine. So read and write poems, it'll blow your mind. Let's do
poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable. Poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable.
Poets often use a sound device, like rhyming when some words sound alike. like you can use a rhyme in a rhyme scheme. That's a pattern of rhymes at the end of each line. See, it could be A B A B or A A B B or many others. Do you see? But you don't have to rhyme in your composition. You can write in free verse. See what I did there? Alliteration is another sound device. Just repeat first consonants. That'll sound nice. Like rise up for you, the flag is flown. Some alliteration from Walt Whitman. And lastly, let's hit up onomatopoeia when the sound of a word gets the clue about its meaning. Rumble and rattle sound like echoes from a yell. Like it rumbled through the valley, it rattled in the dell.
Poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable. Poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable.
Impressive. It occurs to me, your rap songs could be considered poetry. Striking resemblances. Well, with that, I must bid you adieu and return to the netherworld.
Okay, guys, so I hope you enjoyed that poem. Or, well, there was poetry in there, so it was kind of a poem in itself. So I hope that gives you guys an idea of what poetry is. Now, the activity that we're going to be doing today in class is called Blackout Poetry. Now, I've done it before with other students. I found some examples online that I'd like you to see. It doesn't necessarily have to be black and white. What you do is you first choose the words that call out to you, the ones that you know find interesting or you think would function for a poem. You can also do phrases, not just one word. So this person went with these words, and based on what they got, they drew a picture. They blacked out the rest of the poem. They only boxed the ones that they found interesting, and then they drew over that with a background like a night sky and some waves of the ocean, because you can see it marks the word waves here. Then there was another example that I found, which is, as you can see, they boxed these words. And since they mentioned the words her and eyes, they drew a picture of a girl or a woman looking, using her eyes, and then the rest of the poem is blacked out. But like I said, it doesn't have to be literally the color black or dark. Here's an example from a student I had last year, and based on what she did here, she did an image based on that. So you don't necessarily, like I said, have to do black and white. You don't necessarily have to black it out. Let your creativity flow, and let's see what kind of poem you guys present to me. I hope you guys enjoyed the class. I can't wait to see the results of your poems. Have a great day. See you later. Bye.